rarely does DC introduce a character that is such a smash hit as Telos was. So many new DC characters are based on this ridiculous idea of legacy. There's nothing original. I mean, Wally West, what a stupid fucking concept. There was a guy named The Flash, then he died, then they made another guy named The Flash. I mean, come on DC, are you even trying? Green Lantern becomes a villain, and who replaces him? A guy named Green Lantern. Hawkgirl dies and gets replaced with someone named Hawkgirl. It's just the most uncreative thing of all time. This is why no one likes DC's legacy characters. They try and force new characters like Damian Wayne and John Kent down our throats, but we just don't care. I mean, at least Bendis is doing something interesting by aging him up. But after the smash hit of Convergence, Jeff King creates what is easily the most memorable and noteworthy character in DC history. Telos. Even before the first issue was published, critics were already hailing Telos as the most ambitious series in DC history. The book immediately placed itself among the Mount Rushmore of DC greats. Like, you know, Batman Odyssey, where Batman talks to the audience while squeezing orange juice. Countdown to Final Crisis, where an entire team of writers just didn't talk to Grant Morrison about what was actually going to happen in Final Crisis. And All-Star Batman and Robin, where Batman calls Robin a retard and then makes him paint an entire room yellow to flex on Green Lantern. Written by the same guy who wrote Dark Knight Returns, by the way. You know, the most classic of DC stories. I mean, thank God for Jeff King. I think in order to understand how truly great Telos is, we have to understand what was going on at DC at the time. This was right at the height of the New 52. Every fan across the globe complained that DC had absolutely no interesting books in their line. I mean, we're talking about an age at DC where Shazam didn't even have his own title. But DC had the foresight to publish not a Shazam book, not a Justice Society book, not a Booster Gold book, but a Telos book. Now, every fan at the time would have been outraged at this news, but DC knew better. I mean, to look back and think that DC could have published a JSA book over Telos, I mean, it would have been crazy. Like The Godfather, Telos is one of those books that you just look back on and instantly see how incredible it was. In an age of forgettable titles like Scott Snyder's Batman and Jeff Johns' Justice League, Telos really stood the test of time. But what makes Telos so great? How do you actually get to a point where critics call your book the Mona Lisa of comics? I mean, Jeff King even wrote about the series, "This is my Rachmaninoff's third, my Pieta. It's completely elegant, it's bafflingly beautiful, and it's capable of consistently selling numbers higher than a Batman crossover. I call it Telos." How do you do that? Well, you have to look at the main character. When I think of DC Comics, I think of three characters: Batman, Superman, and Telos. Unlike these other characters with super simple backstories, Telos actually has some level of complexity. Let's look at Batman. Parents got murdered, can't get over it, Batman. Entire planet dies, raised by farmers, Superman. Forged from clay, raised on an island of warriors, Wonder Woman. These are fucking baby stories. You can summarize their entire histories in literally one sentence. Where's the complexity? If you can't explain the origin of your character without a fucking flowchart and several Wikipedia articles, I mean, what's the point? To famously quote Dan DiDio, "Our characters are dumb, legacy is dumb, gaga goo goo, it's time for Telos." I mean, everyone at DC was feeling it. Where was the heart in these characters? I mean, the Flash was just a guy who ran fast, Green Lantern was just a lantern, and Hawkman, actually, there's no fucking logical way of explaining Hawkman without giving yourself a brain tumor. But what I'm getting at is that these were characters who were written for kids that people pretended could be complex. I mean, Alan Moore came in and tried to make superhero books serious with failed attempts such as Watchmen, but it was like trying to turn the Care Bears into Godzilla. These were baby characters. But finally, Jeff King, a real accomplished author, comes in and creates an actual character that you don't have to be ashamed of reading anymore. I mean, you see this in the quotes from Homer's Odyssey in the book that happen every fucking issue. I mean, this is a big boy book for really smart people. Now, who is Telos? Well, that's a tough question because Telos is not Telos. He is actually Arok. What the fuck? So Brainiac showed up in this little series known as Future's End and is all like, "Hey guys, check out this new badass costume I got." And everyone's all like, "Shut the fuck up, Brainiac. We were too busy trying to figure out who this buff guy is who's using lightning powers." Is it Shazam?" "Shut the fuck up, Brainiac." "Oh, okay." And then Brainiac leaves and decides to go create Telos. So Brainiac goes to this random planet and kills everyone because he's still pissed that they didn't let him into Future's End. And this one warrior named Arok says, "Take me, not my planet." To which Brainiac replies, "Why? I am a fucking 12th level intellect, god tier destroyer and collector of worlds. How the actual fuck would you be able to stop me in any way, shape, or form? I'm just going to kill you and your entire planet because I'm a robot and I don't care about deals or human emotions." At least that's what a lesser writer would do. No, Brainiac just totally accepts Arok's offer and says, hey, it looks like DC wants to make this character named Telos. Is it cool if I change every aspect of your character and call you Telos from now on?" So he does, and Telos is born. So he's part warrior guy who's not a warrior guy and is kind of Brainiac's son. And his role is to watch over all the worlds Brainiac collects. Now, Brainiac is smart, but not as smart as Telos. So in Brainiac's absence, Telos makes all the worlds fight each other instead of collecting them like he was asked. Then Brainiac gets mad, And then Telos learns about his past and wants to reunite with his family, despite there being no reasonable way of assuming his family is still alive after all these years. I mean, look at this man's design. What a phenomenal costume. And this is where we start the Telos series. We go from the greatest villain in all the DC multiverse, and this series turns that entire concept on its head. And now Telos gets a chance to be the greatest hero in the DC multiverse. The premise of Telos is something so obvious, you figured it had been done before. Our fan favorite Telos is shown attacking Brainiac's spaceship. After having to beat Brainiac's butler, Telos isn't having it anymore. And I mean, this is the battle we've all been waiting for. Two equally popular characters who have both been around for many years, duking it out to see who's the coolest computer in the galaxy. And even though the answer is obviously Telos, Jeff King does a great job of making it seem like little Brainiac stands a chance in front of Telos. But Brainiac does have a trick up his sleeve, and he makes a deal with Telos. If Telos completes this one last mission for Brainiac, he'll tell Telos where his family is. The stakes couldn't be higher. This is a deeply personal tale with everything on the line for our main hero. Unlike dumb Superman stories where we know Superman will never die, there are actual consequences to the story. Now the plot here is a masterclass, but I mean, that's a given. It doesn't rely on any shocking twists or big reveals or interesting characters. This is 100% Telos, baby. To quote Jeff King's brother Tom King, Jeff King's Telos is the inspiration for my Batman run. In fact, Mitch and I have plans in the works for a 12-issue Telos maxi. I know it's tough to tackle such a beloved character, but I couldn't be more excited. It's amazing how much lore King is able to squeeze into this run about a no-name like Brainiac. It would be unbearable if it wasn't through the eyes of Telos. Basically, Brainiac put this guy named Computo in charge of his home planet of Colu, but now he needs Telos to take Computo down by joining a resistance movement. Now the suspense is clearly there, but it's really the brilliant decisions like using a character named Computo that really make Telos set apart from its contemporaries. Or in the words of Scott Snyder, every night I take off my Telos socks and head to my son's room to read him Telos by Jeff King as I rock him to sleep in his Telos-shaped crib so he may one day grow big and strong like Telos. Then I return to my bedroom, slip under my Telos blanket, whisper goodnight to my wife, who is also named Telos, and curl up with my trade paperback of Telos. God, I fucking love Telos. I mean, Telos is such a monumental achievement. Okay, that's it. I can't fucking do it anymore. The book Telos, written by Jeff King, is bad. It's not laughably bad. It is bad, but it doesn't make me want to claw my eyes out. That's what Rick Grayson is for. But the sheer existence of this book is absolutely insulting to fans. Instead of publishing a Shazam book, or a Zatanna book, or a Booster Gold book, or a Justice Society book, or a Legion book, DC gives us Telos. This book was such a tone-deaf decision by DC. I mean, the fact that they would publish anything even tangentially tied to Convergence shows how messed up DC was at the time. Now, even though the book isn't that bad, certainly not good. The Telos in this series is basically a completely different character from the Telos from Convergence, because DC realized that one sucked. He in no way, shape, or form resembles the original character, except for his shitty fucking costume. And because DC realized literally not a single person cares about Telos at all, they decided to make the plot of this book have nothing to do with Telos. It's about Brainiac and Colu and different stuff I don't care about. As soon as Telos arrives on Colu, he meets basically the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, you got Gamora and this weird Star-Lord Rocket Raccoon hybrid. Now this rabbit, I hate him. He is the single most stupidly written character in this whole series. One of my favorite lines from this guy is the part where he kills some monster thing and yells, "Ding dong, the witch is dead." Now listen here, rabbit. This guy, this monster thing you just killed, he in no way resembles a witch. He has no pointy hat or broom or particularly wicked attitude. So this phrase just literally makes absolutely no sense, buddy. Plus, you are a rabbit from space. How do you know about the Wizard of Oz? Well, it's probably because everyone in this series is a 10th level intellect or whatever the hell that means. It's just little lines like, "Blam, you're dead," while he's shooting at someone that really just make me hate this guy. But the rabbit guy is just one example of the ridiculous dialogue in this series. Basically, everyone in this series talks like they're the main character in a Joss Whedon rewrite. I mean, there is an unironical point in this series where Parallax yells, "I eat fear for breakfast." Could you imagine literally the avatar of all fear and terror in the entire multiverse yelling, "I eat fear for breakfast"? Like, I'm pretty sure this exact quote pops up in a SpongeBob episode at some point. And it's not even just the side characters that act this stupid. Brainiac's dialogue is just as bad. So let me set the stage for you. This is the climax of the main story. Telos and the rebellion have taken over Computo's lair. Still can't get over the fact his name's fucking Computo. But Computo still has an ultra-powerful mech suit that he can use to crush his enemies. Computo and Telos are at the brink of battle. The place is crumbling to ashes, and it's revealed that Brainiac, a cold-hearted supercomputer, has been tricking Computo all along. Now, what would you think Brainiac would say in this situation? Take a guess. No, whatever you said, you're wrong. The correct answer was, "What's wrong? Virus got your tongue?" Why would this cold-hearted, 12th level intellect just toss an equip at this guy? It's actually worse than Ultron. Also, every character in this entire series just happens to know Telos. Like Brainiac I get, he's the one guy who made Telos and all, so it makes sense that he would know who Telos is. Caputo, the guy Brainiac appointed to lead Colu, okay, maybe Brainiac mentioned Telos to him at one point or another. Any of the Resistance members, how the fuck do they know who Telos is? This man has secretly been guarding a bunch of cities by himself for years. How does anyone even know you? And then at some point, an entire fleet of planets all fly over to Colu and try and arrest Telos. And they all act like they know exactly who he is. How? No one should know Telos, let alone this entire planetary alliance that has never met him in his entire life, nor has Telos done anything important enough to get his name recognized by this committee. I bet these guys just read Convergence and thought, yep, this guy needs to die. And after this first Colo story is over, this series just honestly stops being a Telos series altogether. DC just went back to the boardroom and said, Dan, this book is not selling. And he was like, you're telling me fans aren't buying Telos? That's not possible. So they went back to the drawing board and decided to bring back the least unbearable part of Convergence, and that was Parallax Hal Jordan. And it's super abrupt too. Like Telos is dealing with this whole Colo thing, about to find the location of his family, and then Parallax just pops up and is like, woo, time to revive Coast City, I eat fear for breakfast, I'm so fucking crazy. So Telos just kind of has to deal with this whole Parallax thing now, and it's about as mildly enjoyable as the rest of the book has been. Then Parallax just escapes to go kill Green Lantern, and then the book just gets canceled. Seriously, the last thing that happens in the Telos series is an ad for Robert Vendetti's Green Lantern. Like, Telos just never finds his family, never resolves the whole Colo thing, and is just never seen again in DC Comics. The whole series is just so bizarre. No one asked for it, no one bought it, and then it was just canceled. It's literally not even worth the read for the meme. The book is beyond average and has no lasting impact on the reader at all. But man, I just can't get over how bad this costume is. Anyway, Telos is the greatest of all time, yada yada, 10 out of 10. Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at InfinityIncom1, and in the comments below, please let me know how Telos has changed your life. See you guys next time.